Good morning, everybody. This is our philosophy yoga class. This week, we've been talking about improving your digestion. One of the things that people talk about whenever they think about eating better or improving their digestion is the word diet always comes up. What should I be eating? And I've been asked that question a lot over my career, and sometimes I might have some suggestions. But in general, what we are doing to ourselves is overloading our digestive system. We eat too much. We live too big. And let me explain that. Here's an example one of my teachers gave me. Imagine you were going to a busy marketplace. Picture, the Kensington Market in Toronto or something like that. And it's maybe weekend morning. You're going to go to the market, get your supplies. And you walk in and you think, okay, I'm going to buy apples today. That's what I really want to do, is buy apples. So you walk into the market, but then you smell the nice freshly ground coffee. You think, well, I'll get a coffee, I'll get it. So you get in the lineup to get coffee. You're in the lineup to get coffee, and then you smell cinnamon buns. And you think, oh, I'm hungry. Okay, I'm going to get a cinnamon bun. So you go over to the lineup for the cinnamon buns, and you're in the lineup for the cinnamon buns. And then you hear an announcement that scarves are 50% off for the next 10 minutes. So you run into the scarf line to buy a scarf because it's 50% off. You see what's happening here. You're running around because of all these bright, shiny objects, all this smells and glitter, but you're left with nothing at the end of your market visit. You still haven't got your apples. You haven't even got a cup of coffee yet. And this is what happens to us in daily life. We wake up in the morning and we say, we're going to do this. We're focused. We're going to be on it for this or that. And then we get going. We open up social media. We were just talking about that before we started recording. You open up social media, or a phone call comes in, or you see that the bathtub grout needs to be cleaned. Or you decide, I'm going to go out for breakfast instead. You see what it is. We have too many choices, and we eat too much. And we take in too much. We sign up for too much. We consume too much. And it can't all be digested. So what you need to do as a discerning yogi is make some hard choices about what you're going to focus on. You can't get distracted by the cinnamon buns and the 50% off sales at the market, so to speak. You have to have a plan, and you have to focus. Setting an intention in yoga class is one of the examples that I would give of how to hone your attention and your discipline as a yogi. Today, we're going to focus on your heartfelt desire. So we're going to do a practice that physically moves in the area of the heart. The last two practices this week have been all about the belly because we're talking about digestion. But today I'm going to move a little deeper in our philosophy section into what motivates you. What do you act upon? And are you doing it consciously? And to really make those executive decisions effectively, you need to know what's at your heart. So we're going to move in a way that focuses on the heart center today, but we're also going to use that stimulation of the energy and physicality there to discern what we really want, discern where we're going to focus, what line are we going to get into, and are we going to stay there until we get our apples, so to speak. So we're going to start standing today. I'll invite you to join me. In terms of props today, your trusty chair is always helpful. And if you're not using a chair, a couple blocks might be a great idea. If you don't have blocks, the chair would be a good substitute for that. So and maybe a bolster or a rolled blanket at one point as well. So let's come to our first mountain pose of the practice. We're just warming up. We're just coming into awareness of our bodies. So bring your feet so that they're distance enough apart that they're right underneath your bumper bones. If I dropped a plumb line down from my bumper bones, I'd be right in between the middle toes. Soften the knees. Let your pelvic bones be heavy. Let your shoulder blades be heavy. Let your arms rest comfortably at your sides. And begin to breathe in and out through the nose. See if you can create a straight up and down tube for the breath. So there's no kinks or twists. There's a softness, an openness, a sponginess, a willingness to accept the breath all the way along the central part of the body. A nice open tube there. Take one more breath in and out through the nose, and we're going to start to move a little bit with our breath. When you're ready to inhale, let's come up onto the balls of the feet. And as you exhale, lower the heels back down. Let's do that 2 more times, trying to keep the ankles parallel to each other as you lift and lower. And try to make that movement last the entire inhale, the entire exhale. On your next inhale, roll to the outside edges of your feet. And as you exhale, roll to the inside edges of your feet. Do the best you can to keep your knees facing forward as you get into the ankle joints with this movement. One more time. Now, if you need a chair or a hand on a wall, that's fine. We're going to lift one foot and circle the ankle joint around. Try to make a big, wide circle and then reverse the direction as you exhale. Let's do that one more time. There might be some cricking or clunking in the ankle joint, but it's better we know about that now. Good. On your next inhale, let's straighten out the knee and exhale, bend the knee. And you're moving in your natural range of motion here. Again, noticing if there's any resistance or any difficulty in doing this, just acknowledging that. And then both feet on the floor back into mountain pose. Before we move to the other side, here's our first little practice bit of honing our attention and paying attention to what we want to on purpose. So notice the differences between your 2 sides. We've been working with one leg, the other leg still hasn't done some things. Can you discern the different sensations? When you're ready, we'll move to the second leg, ankle circles. So in one direction as you inhale, opposite direction as you exhale. We're just warming up. We're finding out, we're learning from our body what our range of motion is in these joints today. Then knee movement, inhale, straight leg, exhale, bend as much as you can. Free range of motion, no pressure on the knee joint, a chance to really assess what's going on. Good. And then back to mountain pose. Take a breath in and out, and we'll do the same thing for our arms that we just did for our legs. So when you inhale, spread your fingers wide. Exhale, gentle hug into a fist. Repeat that 2 more times, filling out the volume of your fingers and your thumbs as you inhale. So you're getting a really good connection to that part of your body. And then inhale, roll your wrists around in one direction. Exhale, reverse that. Again, you're making this movement as big a circle as you can. Wonderful. And then interlace the fingers. As you inhale, push the fingers away from you. And as you exhale, flip the palms up. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Good. As you inhale now, draw the arms back. Exhale, lift the arms up. And move like that 2 more breaths, noticing if there's a difference between your right and left sides. Maybe there's a different range of motion or different sensations. Good. Then let your arms rest at your sides. Exhale here. And as you inhale, hug the shoulders up to the ears and pull them back. And then exhale, release. So inhale, shoulders up and back. And exhale, release. One more breath like that. Really moving the shoulder blades on the upper back. And one more thing I'd like to do for the shoulders. Inhale, you've just walked into your surprise birthday party. And then exhale, you say, oh, you shouldn't have. As best as you can, creating this movement with your arms, noticing the difference between the sides, and noticing if the movement is difficult or restricted in any way. Wonderful. Next, I'd like to come into table pose, and know that you can use a chair for table pose like this. You might want to do that other times in the class as well. So if you have your chair handy, you can employ it. If you're okay to be on hands and knees, you still might want a little bit of cushioning underneath your knees. Bring your your knees somewhat together, or your legs somewhat together. Make sure there's some softness in your elbows. And if you're standing on your feet, that there's some softness in your feet. And then when you're ready to inhale, we'll take that breath in, and then we'll exhale, drop the hips to one side. Inhale, come back to center, and exhale, drop the hips to the other side. So I'm trying to keep my shoulders over my wrists. And I'm trying to make this a side-to-side movement of the hips. Good. And I'm just generating a little sensation perhaps in the outer hip muscles here. Let's go to each side one more time. Good. And then come back to the center. Separate your legs hip distance apart so you feel like you have a very stable table here. And then inhale, lift one leg up, flush with the floor. And exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest. Try to keep your spine quiet as you do this movement. Good. One more breath on this side. And then we'll switch to the other side. So the other leg is lifted up on the inhale and hugged in on the exhale. And we're just really getting into the hip joints here. You might be sensing that. Good. And then let's just drop our buttocks back onto the floor. You can bring your legs out in a little bit of a V position. We'll only be here for a brief time. And then when you're ready to inhale, turn the kneecaps all the way to the right. And as you exhale, turn the kneecaps all the way to the left. So the toes might point in that direction too, but it's mostly the kneecaps I want to pay attention to. This is the most difficult movement for me of the hip joints. It's internal and external rotation. So we might spend just an extra breath or two here, really getting warmed up. Try to make sure your sitting bones are grounded to the floor. So you're not lifting up off of your hip. Let's just go to each side one more time. Good. And then bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor. You can hook your hands behind your thighs. You're going to come into a little bit of a cat-cow type movement. So as you inhale, think about that heart center. Lift it up, expand, radiate out into the room. And as you exhale, melt the heart and point it back down towards the floor. So inhale, lift. And exhale, melt the heart, bury it back towards the spine. Try that a couple more times. Good. Now, as best as you can, drop the knees and let them point over towards the right side of your room. You may find that you need a little extra padding underneath your buttocks here, or even padding underneath one of your knees. And arrange your legs however they're comfortable. So they can be stacked on top of each other or separated like buying more of a pinwheel shape. I'm going to have my left hand, just the fingertips resting on the floor beside my feet. You can have a block here if you need a little bit more height. And then as best as you can, inhale, lift up your right arm, expand the space here. And as you exhale, arc towards your feet. Inhale, come back to center, and exhale, arc. Now, if your right arm is tired and you don't want to keep it up above your head, you can let it rest on your hip and achieve the same movement with the spine. Let's try this for 2 more breaths. This is a difficult pose in a lot of ways, so be kind to yourself if there's not a lot of movement yet this morning. And then inhale up and relax your arm down as you exhale. We're going to come into a little bit of rotation here. So keep your legs just the way they were in that last pose. And we're going to do a little bit of free swinging around. So let your breath match the movement in whatever way makes sense. For me, I feel like this is the inhale and this is the exhale, but you might want to breathe in the opposite direction. And then just let your body swing from side to side, an easy movement, noticing, where there's restrictions, where you feel tight, and just trying to loosen up a little bit in this rotational sort of plane. Just a couple more breaths. And then we'll release, bring the knees back to center. Let's take a couple of those cat-cow movements again. Inhale, chest lifts. Exhale, the chest really kind of buries and points towards the ground. Just 2 more breaths like that. And then we'll drop the knees so they face towards the left and repeat what we just did. So remember, you can have more height up underneath your hips if you're tight on this side. You can have some support under your knees if you need it. Your legs can be stacked on top of each other if that's more comfortable rather than having them spread apart. So finding your unique seat, you could always do this sitting in a chair too. If these kinds of things just don't work for you any day, know that. I've got my fingertips resting on the floor over here on the right-hand side. And then inhale, expand through the left lung. Exhale, arc towards the right. Now I'm so much tighter on this side. So these are the kinds of things you want to try to notice as you're going through our basic kind of joint freeing here. It's just, where are you holding unnecessary tension? And can you let these little movements kind of massage some of that away? So our focus is on the body in this portion of the class and learning from it. Good. Now let's come into our gentle twisting. You can inhale this way and exhale that way, or do it the opposite, but just kind of be conscious of your breath and try to make this movement as relaxed and flowing as you can. Not a lot of pressure or tension, just releasing. Good. A little bit more, a little bit more. Good. And then releasing this movement. Let's come up to a standing position now. Here's a little challenge for you if you've been working on core strength or you like to feel the physical challenge of a yoga class. Bring your right leg forward, no hands. Place the right foot on the floor and stand right up. So just a little challenge there to see if you like that. We're going to come into a little bit of a flow here. I'm going to start with the chair. I'll demonstrate putting the knee on the ground the next round of this. If you don't have any trouble putting your knees on the floor, you still might want the blanket to cushion your knees. And you can follow along with this, but just drop your knee to the floor instead of bringing your hands to the chair. The other thing that you might want to have is a couple blocks at the front of your mat, and place your hands on blocks instead of placing them on the chair. Just gives your heart a lot more room to breathe when you're going through this sort of thing. So I'm going to start with the chair. I'll demonstrate knee on the ground the next round. The physical shape of these postures is not near so important as the intention. And I'll go back to what we talked about at the beginning of class about how we eat too much, we consume too much. We're greedy. And that makes it hard for our bodies and our minds and our hearts to digest. So taking a really big form of a posture and always insisting on doing, the really most sophisticated form of the posture is part of the problem. Dialing it back, using props, and not going so deep into a posture can really help you determine what's the right level for you. How much should you consume in this posture? I hope some of that makes sense. So as we come into our mountain pose facing the front of the mat, I would invite you to bring your hands together at the heart. This is a focus for us today in our practice, is the heart center. Really starting to connect and think about where our heart's desire is leading us. And is our behavior in alignment with that heart's desire? So let's move a little bit and we'll come back to that point. But the hands at the heart will just keep bringing your attention back here. When you're ready to inhale, open to the sun. Exhale, flow towards the earth. Inhale, come halfway up. Heart pulls forward of the arms. And as you exhale, take your right leg back. Now you could drop your knee to the ground if you like. Inhale, lift your arms, or you can just lift your right arm if that's okay. And then as you exhale, twist towards the left. Now I'm going to bring my hands down to the chair and to my left leg. On the inhale, I'm going to see about extending the spine. It's almost as though I'm going to do a cat-cow type motion here. So in the inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, arch out the back. Taking that for 3 breaths in total. Now, if you're on the ground with your knee, you would probably have your right hand on the block. On your next inhale, step to table pose, lift your heart. On your next exhale, stretch out like cat back. And then when you're ready to inhale again, we're going to bring our right foot forward into lunge pose. So we'll take the exhale to get settled into that. And then repeating what we did before on the other side. Inhale, lift your arms. You can just lift your left arm if you want. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, round out. Repeating that for 2 more breaths. Now you could have your left hand on the block here. You're using the floor version. Good. On your next inhale, we'll step the left foot up with the right foot, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lifting all the way up. And exhale, bring the hands back to the heart. So as we get moving into the next round, we're going to do this for a few rounds, really warming the body, really creating a lot of circulation through the heart center. Each time we come back to this final sacred mountain pose, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is your heart's desire? And while we're working with that question, this isn't about winning the lottery or losing 10 pounds. This is your soul speaking to you. This is what gets you out of bed in the morning. This is what brings your life meaning. This is what you really need in order to breathe. So your heart's desire. So let's try this again. This time I'll demonstrate knee on the ground. You may want to still use the chair, and that's absolutely fine. It's going to work great. So from sacred mountain pose, inhale, reaching to the sky. Exhale, softly folding to the earth. Inhale, lengthen the chest forward. As you exhale, this time we'll stop the left leg back. Inhale, lift your left arm or both arms. And exhale, come into the twist. Your left hand can be on the chair or on the block. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, round out the back. And 2 more breaths like that. Try and keep your right knee over top of that ankle, pointed to the front of the mat. So you're moving the spine, not your lower body that much. Good. On your next inhale, find your table pose. Extend the heart forward. Exhale, rock into cat back. And then as you inhale, bring your left leg forward into lunge. We'll take the exhale to give you time to get that left foot all the way up underneath the front knee. On your next inhale, lift your right arm or both arms. And exhale, twisting towards the left. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, round out the back. 2 more breaths like that. Cat-cow here in your twisted lunge. So really getting into a lot of those tight areas. Those restricted areas around the heart center. Good. As you inhale this time, step the right foot up to the left. Find your half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Let's pause here. You can always take a seated mountain pose in your chair if you need a little extra rest time. Maybe dip your chin slightly towards the heart center. This is a way to express your belief that, or your willingness to let the heart lead you. Sometimes our minds are like monkey minds. They want everything. They're after the cinnamon buns, they're after the coffee, they're after the 50% off sale. And sometimes we have to let the heart be what guides us. So thinking about that heart's desire. When you're ready to move, join me in mountain pose again, hands at the heart, and here we go. Inhale, lifting towards the sky. Exhale, folding in. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, drop the right leg back into lunge. Inhale, lift the right arm or both arms. And exhale, come into your twist. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, arc the back. 2 more breaths. Good. On the next inhale, stepping into table pose, lifting the chest forward. Exhale, arcing the back into cat stretch. Inhale, bring the right leg forward into lunge. Take your exhale so you have time to get that foot all the way up there. Inhale, lifting the left arm or both arms. Exhale, coming into your twist. Inhale, extend. Exhale, arc. 2 more breaths like that. You may be finding a little bit more range of motion now in that upper back. On your next inhale, step the left leg forward to the right, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, lift all the way. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let's keep flowing. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, folding to the earth. Inhale, heart leads as you lift halfway up. And as you exhale, left leg back into lunge. Inhale, lift both arms or maybe just the left arm. Exhale in the twist towards the right. And you know what happens next? We take 3 breaths, doing a cat-cow type movement from your twisted lunge. Good. On your next inhale, come to table pose. Lift the chest up through the arms. Exhale, arch out like a cat. Inhale, bring the left foot forward into the lunge. You can take the exhale here. You might need a little extra time to get that foot all the way up there. Inhale, lifting up with the right arm or both arms. Exhale, twisting towards the left. Last 3 breaths, doing cat-cow for your upper back. And on this inhale, bring your right foot up to your left foot, find your half lift. Exhale, release towards the earth. Inhale, lift all the way up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Pausing here, knowing that you can take seated mountain pose if you want to take the chair for a second. And we'll go back to our question. What is our heart's desire? You know that you're getting close to what the whisperings of your soul if your body feels calm, positive, even joyous. And then when you're ready, we'll move down onto the floor. You might want to keep one of your blocks, or you might want to keep a blanket handy. That might come in handy. Come down onto the floor here for a little bit of work. I'm going to keep my knees bent, feet on the floor. And here's where we come into a part of the class that calls on a lot of discipline from us. Let me demonstrate the yogi don't. So you see this, if you go to the gym or you watch exercise classes on YouTube, you see this a lot, people doing this. No, I'm exaggerating, but could you see the bounce going on here? That is an undisciplined leg lift. Now we're working on discipline in this class in order to not overload our digestive system. So discipline begins in the little things, like not doing boo, 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 boo with the leg. That's a technical term, by the way, boo, 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 boo. So let's begin by noticing the natural curvature in your low back, and then hugging the muscles of the torso towards the bones there to stabilize so that that curvature remains pretty much exactly as it is. Then I'm going to invite you to take your left leg and lift it up a little bit and lower the foot. So try to do this movement without making any changes in the curvature of your lumbar spine. So you have to kind of hug the muscles in. There's a bit of discipline involved in this. You might be quite humbled to realize how difficult that is. Try it on the right leg now. Notice the muscles that are firing in order to keep the stabilization. And you might start to feel a little fatigue in some of those muscles because often the firing isn't quite ideal for many of us. Take as much time in rest as you need as you work with these basically micro movements. It's not overly complicated at this point. So I want you to stay with bent knees if you found that fatiguing or if this is a new kind of concept for you. If it was going okay with bent knees, then what I'll suggest is you try that with a straight leg. So as you lift your leg up, watch the curvature of your low back. Keep it stable. Exhale as you lower the leg down and inhale as you lift the leg. Try not to rock side to side or like a rocking chair back and forth. So you're using those muscles to stabilize. Like I said, this is humbling when you use a lot of discipline and isolate the muscles that should be working here. And try that for one more breath if you like. I'm exhaling as I lower. As soon as you feel that there's a lot of movement in the pelvis or the low back, that's when it's time to rest. Your stabilization muscles are getting tired and you need to discipline yourself to rest when it's time to rest. If you want, we can try the other leg. Remember, the bent knee option might be best for you. Inhaling, leg lifts, exhaling, lowering. I'm really watching that low back, keeping the pelvis stable, the low back stable. And on this side, I notice it's quite different. There seems to be some restriction in my groin area at the top of my thigh. So I just want to notice that. You might be noticing things like that as well. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you lower. And then taking as many rests as you think is appropriate for you in your practice today. I find those kinds of things quite humbling. Those leg lifts are taught in every beginner class. But when you really pay attention, you realize I have to discipline myself quite strictly in order to do it properly. Now, there's the option of doing 2 legs at a time. But again, you have to really discipline yourself to take as much as you can digest. 2 legs at a time, if it looks like this, that's not doing leg lifts. That's doing something else. I don't know what that is. So disciplining yourself to take the posture that serves you. If you can, lift both feet up off the floor at the time and then lower them back down. And you notice your pelvis staying steady while you do that. And there's not pain in your back as you do that. You could try bent knees first, getting the mechanism perfected, and then resting. The option is always to stay with 1 leg at a time and keep alternating back and forth while you build up the muscle memory and the skill to do this safely. If 2 legs at a time bent is okay, maybe 2 legs at a time straight might work out. So it would be the same as the single leg lifts, but you would be using 2 legs at the same time. Now you can probably tell from my voice, I have to work a lot harder to do this. It's really not proper form to talk the whole way through this exercise. I shouldn't be doing that. So maybe a couple more breaths. Whatever level and version seems to work best for you. Good. And then you can rest your feet on the floor. Observe the flood of sensation. And allow yourself some space between your postures. Don't get greedy. Allow yourself time to digest. These kinds of skills like building patience and not being greedy serve us well when we do come to actually sit down to a meal. They do help us with diet, although it's not, paleo or keto or vegan diet. It's taking what we need and discerning what's important. The last little bit here is to take a block or a folded blanket or a pillow and drop it here underneath your sacrum. Now you'll know if you don't have the block in the right place or the pillow, your body will say that doesn't feel very good. You can stay right here. You can lift your legs up with bent knees, or you can come into a supported shoulder stand with your legs elevated such like this. I need to shift that block just a little bit underneath my sacrum. There we go. So like I said, your body will tell you. And I'd like to come into a little bit of an inversion like this if it works for you, because it's going to take all that powerful energy you've been working at with your legs and hips and core and kind of flood it back up to the heart center. So if your knees are bent, that's fine. We're just trying to elevate the hips so all that energy floods into the heart center, flushes through, helps us, clarify a little bit, digest. This would not be a good posture if you had steak and eggs for breakfast this morning. Digestion needs to work with gravity right after you eat. But this is good for more mental digestion or digestion of competing desires. If you find yourself in that metaphorical marketplace and not being able to focus or decide on anything healthy, this is good for that kind of digestion. Maybe we can hold here for a couple more breaths. When it's time to leave the posture, gently bend your knees, feet to the floor, remove the block, let your back have a few breaths to settle back down to the ground naturally. This would be a great chance to maybe bring your hands towards your heart. Draw your attention back to the chest area. And ask yourself that question, what's my heart's desire? As you move through the practice and refine your attention, you may notice you get more specific or that changes a little bit. If fish pose is part of your regular repertoire, you can take full fish pose here. I'm going to demonstrate an alternative. I'm going to bend my elbows, tuck them right up beside my rib cage, and let my palms face each other across my chest, like I'm holding a beach ball here. Then when I'm ready, I'm going to press down through the elbows and puff my chest up, opening the collarbones, widening the rib cage. Now, the upper back might lift up off the floor and I might roll more towards the crown of my head, but there's no real pressure on my neck because the weight is being absorbed by my elbows and my pelvis and my feet. My head is light on the floor. Take a couple breaths here with an open, lifted chest. Shoulder blades coming towards each other at the spine. And when you're ready to release, just melt your spine gently back to the floor. Don't lift your head by itself. Just let the spine melt gently back to the floor. Release your arms, roll them side to side. Take a breath in and out. I'm going to roll over onto my belly. If being on your belly is not a comfortable place for you, come to table pose and do some more cat-cows, that movement we were doing earlier. Rolling over onto your belly, bring your arms forward so that your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders and your forearms are parallel. Spread your fingers equally distant apart. Press the fronts of your legs and the fronts of your hips down to the earth. and isometrically draw your elbow back towards your body. It's plugged into the ground. It's not going to move, but isometrically draw your elbows back, and that will help you to widen the collarbones and lengthen the chest forward to the front of your mat. Widen the chest. Good. Keep your neck neutral so your chin is parallel to the ground. And feel that lengthening and opening throughout the heart area. Taking one more breath here. And then releasing down. You can bring your hands underneath your forehead. If you've been doing cat-cow, you can take a child's pose here. Or if you're doing cat-cow with your hands on a chair, just turn around and sit in seated mountain pose on your chair. Close your eyes if you like. Fold inward on yourself, so to speak. And ask yourself again, what is my heart's desire? And then from here, we'll move to table pose. So I just need to adjust my blanket to cushion my knees. You could be using your chair for table pose. That's fine. And then we're going to repeat something we did in our warm-up. Inhale, lift one leg up, and exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest. But this time, let your spine wave with the movement of your leg. Go into a full body expression. This pose is sometimes called the Phoenix pose. Let's switch legs now. And the mythology around the Phoenix is that it rises from the ashes. It survives when all is destroyed. So this is a little bit of an acknowledgement of your heart energy. When the world's falling apart around us, when it seems like nothing is really organized, we can take that movement and say, my heart will survive. And I don't need to sound like Celine Dion when I say that. If you have a block, let's use it next. If you don't have a block, maybe a full box of Kleenex, or just imagining what I'm going to do with the block would be effective as well. Coming back up to a standing position. We've done a lot of renovations since the last time we've been here. So noticing the differences as you come to your mountain pose. We started here today, but a lot has changed, I think. Notice if there's a little bit more confidence in your stance. Notice if you feel a bit lighter, like you've digested some things. I'm going to bring the block between my thighs, the flat edges of the block between the thighs. A box of Kleenex is about the right size as well. Full roll of toilet paper might work. And then I'm gently going to roll my thighs inwards to kind of connect with the block. It's almost as though the block is being expelled out from behind me. Now look down to the feet, make sure that the feet are still equally balanced to the earth. You're not rolling to the inside arches. And your shoulders and arms are relaxed. So we're finding a very stable mountain pose here, a very balanced mountain pose, right to left, top to bottom. Let's take 3 breaths, seeing if you can match the inhale to the exhale. Equanimity, balance, calm. Okay, we can release the block, release the house, release the block, turn sideways on your mat. Take the feet fairly wide apart. Let's take triangle pose now. Now, can you bring that mindset of calm, balance, equanimity to an asymmetrical yoga pose where things are going to change a lot? Let's externally rotate the right leg. Come into our triangle. We're going to hold this triangle pose for a couple breaths. So take time to set your legs up the way you know triangle works best for you. And then come into Trikonasana. Let's find a version of the pose, maybe your top arm drops, that you can hold for a few breaths Look in the direction that makes your neck feel most comfortable, might be down at your right foot. See if you can find an even ratio breath, breathing in and breathing out of the same length. And see if you can find a balance between right and left, top and bottom, back and front, and equanimity and balance in your body, even though you're in an asymmetrical pose. You're an open vessel, but you have discipline. It's a lovely balance. One more breath here. And then looking down at your right foot, you can bring yourself back up. Bring the feet into a parallel position. Pause between sides for a breath or two as you find yourself settled into something more symmetrical. Notice the changes. And then externally rotate your left leg and we'll prepare for Trikonasana on the second side. So adjust into your pose. It might look different than mine or what you see in books. And see if you can bring that sense of balance and equanimity, even though you're in a weird kind of shape. So that means your right and your left lung have equal room to expand on the inhales. There's equal weight between your right and left feet. You're thinking just as much about your feet as you are your hands or the crown of your head. Let's take one more breath here. And then you can look down at your left foot. That helps to ground you, I think, as you come back up and release. Take your feet into a parallel position. And then step the feet a little bit closer together. They don't have to be mountain pose distant. And you can have your toes turned out a little bit if that's, natural for you to do. I want to try one more little thing here while we're standing. This is lion's pose, lion's breath. And it's thought to be a wonderful way for us to find our voice, to expel anything in the upper tract here that really is being clogged. So the exhale comes right from the belly, pushes up through the heart center and out the mouth. And we stick our tongue out. It's one of those unusual times in yoga where we breathe out of the mouth and you kind of roar a little bit. Now, also the other part of this is you want to bring that energy up and focus it towards your discernment center, which is the third eye. And so if you have the ability to focus your gaze through both eyeballs towards the center of the forehead, you could actually go cross-eyed if you see this in the traditional books. So the other thing you can do in order, again, to dissipate any negativity, anything that's holding you back, is make your lion claws while you do your lion roar. So it looks a little silly, but we're in our houses, nobody will see. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, come into your lion's roar. And then release, inhale quietly. Let's try that one more time. Now let's come to stand, realign into that neutral position. You don't have to put the block back in between your legs, but remember what that felt like? Take the hands to the heart. Let the chin dip slightly towards the heart center as we acknowledge the wisdom of the heart, the guidance of the heart. What is your heart's desire? What is your soul whispering to you? And then let's make our way down onto the mat. I'm going to have my blanket to cushion my spine. And we're going to take some time on the mat now. You may want to put sweaters or socks back on. have any pillows or blankets that will keep you comfortable for Shavasana close by. Let's finish our practice with one more little twist of the spine. So from here, lift your right leg and bring it in towards your chest. Notice I'm not using my hands at all for that. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. You might also want to shift your hips a bit towards the right side of your mat. Your arms can just rest out on the floor in whatever shape is comfortable. And then as you exhale, slowly start to drop the legs over towards the left. So we're coming into a bit of a twist. You can come back and forth for a few breaths if that rhythmic rocking, it feels nice to you. At some point, you might decide just to stay in the twist. And if your right foot doesn't come all the way to the floor, you can grab your block and bring the floor up to your foot so that it's more comfortable for you to be here. Try to make sure both of your shoulder blades settle back to the ground. You can close your eyes if you like. Resting here for a couple more breaths. When it's time for you to release, I'm going to suggest you lift the right knee up by itself towards your chest again. So uncross your legs. And you'll notice as you draw the right leg up, the left knee kind of follows easily on its own. Shift your hips back to the center of the mat. Rest for a breath between sides. Then draw your left knee into your chest. Again, hands free here. Left ankle over the right thigh. You can shift your hips over to the left if you like, and then work towards dropping the legs towards the right. You can roll back and forth a few times. That rocking motion feels soothing to you. But then at some point, you might decide you want the legs to stay flopped towards the right-hand side. And again, you can have your left foot on the block if it doesn't meet the floor easily. Both shoulder blades relaxed. Face relaxed. Last breath here. And like we did on the other side, release the left knee. It comes up by itself. And then the right leg comes up quite willingly on its own. Shift your hips back to the center of the mat and adjusting towards Shavasana whenever you're ready. Making sure you're comfortable. We're going to be here for a few minutes now. And settling in. So once you've settled into your Shavasana, spend some time assembling your body into something just a little tiny bit more comfortable. So do you need to wiggle your toes or roll your legs this way or that way? Do you need to wiggle your fingers? Roll your wrists around at all? And just for fun, make a real scrunchy face. Clench your jaw, clench your eyelids, wrinkle your forehead, hold that for an inhale. And then as you exhale, soften the facial muscles. Let all the masks and expressions you wear for others just melt away. Release your bones to the ground. and relax on purpose. I'm going to invite you to take a little imaginary journey with me in this class now. Let's imagine it is a beautiful spring day, which it is today. We're outside for a walk. We're moving towards a natural area far away from concrete and pavement. Sky is blue. It's that first warm sun of the spring. It feels so nice as it kisses your skin. The birds are active. And you're moving into a wooded area, enjoying the first little peaks of spring, the little green leaves on the vines, the odd little snowdrop or crocus peeking through the leaves from last year. You're walking along, enjoying the connection that you feel when you're out in the woods, in nature, away from the concrete and the pavement and the noise. And then you come upon a very large rock. It's huge, really. Much taller than you, much wider than you would expect. And because the sun is out today and it's got that first real flush of warmth from the spring, you have this urge to touch the rock. It's glittering in the sun. Must be granite, a little mica in there, maybe. And you just have the urge to touch the rock and feel that warmth. So you let your palm move towards the warmth of the stone, and you start to kind of walk around this huge boulder that's been dropped here. You can't see really around the other side, and you're curious. You begin to let your hand trace along the warmth of the stone, feeling its rough surface, kind of letting yourself be fascinated by the glitter of the granite. And then it becomes apparent that as you walk around to the other side of this big boulder, that there's this kind of hidden entrance. It's like a secret cave. This is a bit exciting. And so with a spirit of adventure and openness, you decide to go in through the opening and see what's there. It could be an animal hibernating in there. Goodness knows what, but let's go see what's there. So we take the time with a sense of adventure and openness to enter the cave. It's a bit dark at first. You're not sure if you've made the right decision. You have to go through a bit of a tunnel, I guess, for a couple steps. But then as the tunnel kind of curves, you see the glow of a special sort of light. And as you come around that curve, the cave opens up and is bathed in this beautiful, iridescent emerald light. There's no real discernible source for this light. You don't know where it's coming from, but it's definitely here. You can feel the pulsing energy of the light. It's highly unusual. But at the same time, any apprehensions or nervousness that you had about entering the cave are mysteriously gone. You feel very calm, really. It almost feels familiar here, although you can't remember ever doing this before. And you decide to settle down. There's a comfortable place to rest over there. So you really need to experience this a little bit longer. There's a deep longing, really, to familiarize yourself with this place. So you settle in. The emerald green light almost has a warmth to it. It almost has a pulse to it. It feels very alive, energized, and it's nice to be radiated by this wonderful green light. And then as you rest here in this cave, this kind of mysterious place, the question emerges from deep within you. What is my heart's desire? Let's take a moment to listen. What is my heart's desire? At first, it might be quiet in response. Maybe things or images or memories come to you that don't make much sense right now. And if asking the question doesn't feel right, then you can always just rest in the cave and enjoy the light bath. After a little while, you feel full. You feel as though there's been enough for now. But now you know how to find the cave. You could return whenever you wanted to contemplate this question. What is my heart's desire? So with very little regret, you decide to move on with your day. You feel yourself getting up and moving out of the green light through that little bit of a curvature of the tunnel again, and you emerge back out into that beautiful spring day. But you come out of the tunnel and out of the cave a little differently. You come out with a little bit more balance in your mind, equanimity in your heart, a little bit more focus in your thoughts. If you need a little bit more time to rest and process all that we've shared together in class, please stay in Shavasana. If you're ready to take what we've learned about our heart's desire out into the world, gently awaken your body physically and join me in a seated position and celebrate our class together by sharing the sacred sound of Om. Let's bring it right from the heart center and share it with the world. I'm inhaling now. Namaste. I'm going to stop the recording. So if you would like to unmute, we can